it's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hello, it's Ivy Slater, and welcome to Her Success Story. On today's episode, I have a fabulous guest. And my guests come to me from a variety of directions. This one specifically from a dear friend. And when I know dear friends and colleagues introduce me to great people, I know we're set to have a fabulous interview. And I was fortunate to have a great conversation before. So join me in welcoming Debra Maldonado. She's the CEO and co-founder of Creative Mind Coaching, a life coaching training company with her husband, Robert Maldonado, who's a Ph.D. Their focus is their own proprietary coaching system with the Creative Mind method. It's based on, Debra, you're going to have to work with me here on pronunciation. Jung concept, Eastern philosophies, and neuroscience. The method helps you transcend past conditioning and create what you want in life. The mission is to raise the bar in the coaching industry, which I respect enormously, having been part of this industry for over 11 years. Innovation and lasting change in people's lives. Debra is the author of Let Love In, Open Your Heart and Mind to Attract Your Ideal Partner, which was published by Wiley. And she has been, of course, featured on ABC, Fox, NBC, and a variety of different other news components. Most importantly, the greatest information is Debra's gift. And thank you for joining me here today, Debra.
Oh, it's so great to be here, Ivy.
So, I think we both, you especially know an enormous amount of coaches because this is the area you work with. Mm-hmm. And in 11 plus years in the coaching industry, I have been fortunate to be trained and mentored and have had clients and been part of groups that coaching is, when I got into the industry, something that was very, very new. So it's not even that both of us ladies at this point, as young girls, could have said, when I grow up, I want to be a coach. Mm-hmm. How did this evolve for you?
Well, it's really interesting because I think the coaching industry really bursted out of the birth of the internet and the popularity of it, because I think what happened before is that a lot of them were practitioners and they were basically kind of doing coaching and networking in a small way. And when the internet started to become a vehicle for people to start businesses and to be, in a sad way, overnight successes, instant experts without having a book deal or education, the industry got flooded. And so there's a lot of variety of levels of experience with coaches, and the internet actually gave a level playing field. And so I think over the course of the years, it's gotten really, it's great that it's more popular, but the dark part of it is that anyone can say they're a coach and anyone can get someone to make a pretty website. And there's a lot of people that are doing things that they're not trained for. And that's really the downside of the industry, because it makes us, as an industry, look bad if there's no regulation. So it's a blessing and a curse not to have regulation. And then the internet is also a blessing and a curse, because we can do more and reach more people all over the world. But we also have to deal with everyone else is in the same game.
So, there's one thing to become certified as a coach, mm-hmm. Which I think is, is a great thing. Mm-hmm. I put my energies into that early on. There's another thing to start a program around certification. There's another thing of taking the concept of coaching into a whole nother stratosphere of saying, mm-hmm. okay, we're going to impact the masses of life coaches overall. Where did that come about?
Well, my husband is a psychologist, so we basically didn't fall into copying someone else's model or the superficial motivational type of coaching that's out there for coaches. And then he also, since him and I both, I was a hypnotherapist and he was a therapist, we noticed that a lot of coaches were using therapy modalities in coaching, which is a no-no. And so we decided that we needed to create a system that is truly coaching, that can truly help people on a deep level, but doesn't violate the authorities that license psychotherapists and people that are properly trained to handle some of the deeper issues with people, that it's not, that line isn't crossed. So we want to elevate the industry in a way by providing a deeper service and then educating our coaches so they can really help people, and they can also stay in line with the coaching industry and the regular, kind of stay, not cross over the line and get into therapy and healing and, kind of taking it into another track, which in a lot of ways gets people in trouble. I mean, we just saw an article of a health coach getting in trouble for practicing medicine without a license because she's not a licensed nutritionist. And so I think what we want to do is we really want to establish that there is a way to get coached and trained without having to, cross over those lines that are really reserved for people who are properly trained. And since Rob is a psychologist and I've worked as a hypnotherapist, we know those regulations, like we kind of were educated in those realms. And, but there is a way to work that we don't need to do all that past stuff. Coaching is really about moving forward. It's about taking people from a normal place to their potential. It's not about fixing people. And so we created this model.
And I think that's important.
Yes. So,
I think it's important that we understand the separation and the differentiation of coaching and therapy. And I mean, 100%, I'll complete disclosure here. I have it in my contract because I'm not a therapist. I don't want to be a therapist. I've referred clients to therapists that have alliances with therapists. And I think that's important because when there's people out there who do need therapy. They do need to heal certain things. Mm-hmm. And coaching is a different modality.
Yes. And I think they're, like, again, the unregulated industry, letting, anyone just say they're a coach and they go to a weekend training and learn a technique. And then they're working with people on, deep issues that should be by a trained person. And it's just really like, we're really standing for training coaches in the right way. We have it in our contract, and we also have it in the contract for the coach trainees that they have to clearly state in their contracts with their clients that this is not therapy. And, yes. There is room. Most people on average don't need therapy. Most people actually need coaching. And in the 60s, the encounter groups, there's a lot of, everyone's like pounding pillows and crying and talking about, forgiving their parents and all that. That became really popular. But I think in this day and age, we need to realize that our parents didn't really screw us up. We have to understand, and that's what we teach our clients and our coaches training in, is that it's the stories in our mind, and we can work with them without having to do the heavy work. Like, being a human is challenging. And so we're not, but it doesn't mean that we're broken or that we have these wounds. And again, there are some people that have had serious traumas in their life and they need professional help. But most people, if your mother was critical to you, that's not traumatic. It's just what happened. And actually, a lot of what our parents did was prepare us for the world, which is not very loving all the time. And so we need to basically take our power back and stop feeling so weak and helpless, and our past has screwed us up, and really say, what can I do with my life? How can I move forward? And that's really what our work is about. It's about, acknowledging that there is patterns that we fall into, but not seeing those patterns as dysfunctions. We're seeing those patterns as just a natural way we get conditioned in the world.
So Debra, let's talk about the business side of this, because this is a business, mm-hmm. And what's fabulous, and compared to when I got into the industry over 11 years ago, that coaching is known today. Mm-hmm. And you have built creative minds. Mm-hmm. So how did you start building this business? How have you navigated it? Because it is one thing from going to saying, I'm a coach and you're working with your clients, to mm-hmm. saying, we're going to create a complete resource, a complete school that's going to have a ripple effect impact.
That's a great question. Well, we first started out before Rob and I partnered together, I was doing love coaching. And I was doing love coaching because I was looking for love early on. And then I met Rob, and I wrote a book, Let Love In. And so all my work was about helping women find love. And it was really successful. And not many people were talking about the unconscious, and that you could have to look inside. It's not about dating tips. And so people were really drawn to our work. And then Rob came in and brought in Carl Jung's work, which is working with the shadow and shadow work and things like that. And when we started working together, we noticed that a lot of these women, after they went through our Engaged in a Year program, they were like, okay, that anxiety about finding love is gone, and now I want to find my purpose. And so we launched just as just a test, like, would we want to train people in what we created? And it was amazing how many of these women that were single looking for love said, wait a minute, I want to be a coach. I love personal development. And we saw that people that love personal development and that start on the track of learning about themselves, there's a percentage of them that really want to do it for a living. They love it so much. And so we found that that's really the way to go. And it really is more lucrative than helping one-on-one people, selling a course on love or doing love coaching, that we can actually create a business where we're training the coaches, but then after we train them, they're also staying with us with leadership and building their businesses. And so it's a much better business model than just help people find love. They met their man and they're off. It's like there was a dead end there in the business model. So then we started expanding to success, courses and courses on spirituality, and like kind of an entry point to get people understanding like our method. And then they get so engaged, and usually at our events they meet our other coaches who graduated, and it's like easy. I want to do this because they see the change in their life, and then they want to help others do it. And so that's the model, is they have to try it on for themselves and say, wait, this really helped me. This really changed me. I want to help others. And I've always wanted to be a coach. They all have that, like, I've always wanted to do this, and just a natural fit.
So what are some of the challenges as far as, business, being a business owner and navigating the growth of the business? It sounds like it's all happened very organically, and everything has been, the sunny side of the street.
Oh no. Behind the scenes, it's always chaos. The creative process is chaotic. If you don't have chaos in your business, you're not being creative enough, and you have to learn how to navigate.
Hold on. I'm going to pause you right there, because I want people to be able to actually capture that quote, because it's brilliant. If you don't have some chaos going on, you're not being creative enough. So share the importance of share the importance of being creative.
Well, here's what I see in the industry, and I'm sure, Ivy, you can attest to this, is there's a lot of copycats. There's a lot of what's popular now, and then all the business coaches are teaching the same strategy that they copied from someone else, and it's not creative. And of course, if you follow the formula and you do it and you work really hard, but is that really what you want to do? And it's the people that are really stepping out and inventing and creating new ways of business and strategies, and really owning their own brilliance, instead of just, well, I'm going to follow this coach and do her model and then teach it to other people. It really is very fulfilling if you can step out and make it your own. Like for us, like I was trained as a hypnotherapist. I started out, with the model that I was taught, and then I started adding in and cutting the things that I thought worked better. And then with the knowledge of a psychologist, we created a system. And I think that's what we need to do. If you're doing any kind of coaching, you need to give yourself a little freedom to try on new business strategies, to not just do what everyone else is doing. Because what happens is these fads come and go. 3 years ago, it was do a 3-video series, and now it's Facebook groups. Next week, it'll be teleseminars again. And, email is hot once, and now it's not hot anymore. Now it's Instagram. And so it's actually really good that it changes, because it forces us to be creative. And a lot of people, what's happened, especially in the past couple of years, email has really declined, people opening emails, and it's freaking out a lot of the big big leaders, because that was what they were relying on for their marketing plan, and they were just kind of in the
Correct.
in the grind doing it. And now it's an opportunity. So when there's a disruption in the market, there's an opportunity. So we
So
embrace.
I want to jump in here because it's a great learning lesson. So you're right. Whether you're in a coaching business or whether you're not in a coaching business, so it doesn't matter what kind of business you are in, innovation is key and being on the innovative forefront. So if you're not taking time to be creative in your own business, and it doesn't matter if you're selling widgets, it's how are you going to sell widgets in an innovative fashion that's not already being done in the marketplace? How could you look at widgets differently? How can you look at it, so it's taking the time to be creative. And I 1,000% agree with you. And what I'm hearing you say, if you're looking at, email marketing versus Instagram, 100 years ago, Ivy Slater was a printer. And a friend of mine looked at me and said, "You're going to go out of business. Soon there will be no more print." And I said to them, "You're right and you're wrong. Print is going to evolve." And I did eventually change my business model, and I eventually created Slater Success. It wasn't because I was pushed out of printing. It was because I was drawn to do something that was more fulfilling to me in life. Going back to what you said, Deborah, about my purpose, right? What is my life purpose? Who am I? But the point is, one of the greatest ways to reach in marketing today is direct mail, because our mailboxes have gotten so thin. They used to be huge. Now they're smaller. Our inboxes were filled with newsletters from hundreds and hundreds of people. A lot of people are no longer sending that on that same system. So it's, again, a window of opportunity. It's being impulsed to your industry and the marketplace.
Absolutely. And I think the reason why people don't open up to new creativity is because it takes risk. And they'd rather stay in their comfortable, proven their formula than step out of it. And it's the people that step out of it that actually succeed, because they create, like, look at Uber, disrupting that industry. I mean, it really is there. You can't rely on the same strategy. And I think there's this like a lie out there that one day you're going to have just enough money in the bank, you're going to make it, and then you're going to spend the rest of your days on an island somewhere and retired, where a lot of people don't realize that you have to fall in love with your business as a creative outlet for yourself. And it's not like when the finish line happens, one day I'm going to just work myself to death, and then one day I'm going to get that. It's like a lottery. You have to fall in love with the study marketing. You have to study business. You have to study yourself and understand yourself and how you interact, and be willing to take risks and make it a creative project, and not be so like, I gotta, it's like I think people are just so hard on themselves when they become entrepreneurs that they're trying to prove their success. And there's so much of a fear around not succeeding. And we just have to like relax. And that's where the creativity comes from, is when we fall in love with testing things and trying new things and being bold and doing things that no one else is doing, and being willing to be wrong about it and test it. And you never know, one of those ideas hits. And that's how creativity happens. It doesn't happen with a very measured role. And I think, that was one of the things I learned in the business that I was in, is that I was always trying to follow everyone else's formula. And a couple of years ago, Rob and I decided that we can't, our business is so different. Like, every business is so unique. You try to fit it into a formula, it's not going to work. And we're so creative. It's like, it doesn't fit us as people. So I think,
and I think it's interesting what you're saying, very, very much, because you're hitting, it's so in line of being connected to your purpose, of what do you want to accomplish, what's important to you. And when I hear people talk, and being in the business world and being connected to, in a relationship-based zone, which is important to me, I talk to a lot of people. And when I hear people like, yeah, I'm just going to do this so I can create a passive income and then I'm done. I'm like, where's the connection to your purpose? Passive incomes are going to change because marketplaces change. Exactly what you're saying. So in being in an innovative mindset
Mm-hmm.
and always looking forward, it doesn't mean that we're not creating some passive income, but staying true to your purpose, staying in an innovative mindset keeps you building forward. It keeps you engaged, and it keeps your company moving forward.
Absolutely. And one thing I realized over the years is that success doesn't make you happy. You know, a lot of people think, well, when I reach that 6-figure mark or that 7-figure mark or have that 6-figure launch or 7-figure launch, I'll be happy. And if you're tying your happiness to the success of your business, the business is going to be up and down. You are going to be like a puppet on a string being pulled, and you can't use your business for your own happiness. Your happiness pours into the business. The business doesn't give you happiness. And the way the way we work with our business is that we love what we do, whether we succeed or fail. We love the process. We love teaching. We love what we're doing. And when you're doing that on purpose, the business will have ups and downs. There will be setbacks. There will be market disruptions, but your happiness is going to stay level. And that's really the key is if you're trying to find it out there, you're never going to get it.
Right. Happiness is not tied to a number at all. And when I hear a lot of marketing going on out there of, 6 figures in 6 minutes, 7 minutes in 7 hours, whatever that is, happiness is not a number. Happiness is a quality of life. And one of the things that I admire in what you're doing is you're really staying centric to making an impact on people's lives and the long-term impact on that.
Absolutely. And I think people have to take care of themselves, and they have to understand the person that they are, who they are, and why they're doing what they're doing. And that, like, I love what you said about purpose, is that we think our purpose is what we do. Our purpose is who we are. And so who are we? What is our mission in life? At the end of end of our life, we're not going to say, wow, I did that great launch. Or we're going to say, did I do what I loved? Did I enjoy my life? And and I think so many people, it's like this idea that entrepreneurship gets you out of a day job, that it's supposed to be this like magical, like doing yoga every day, and you're not going to work hard. You're going to work hard, but it doesn't feel like work. You're laughing.
I can't help myself. I've been a business owner. Oh goodness, I was figuring this out with a client before, but I've been a business owner since 1992. And if the responsibility of owning and building and a company was my happiness is what that fulfillment brings to me in my life. Mm-hmm. A CEO position, a C-suite position, and I don't care if you're a company of 1 to 5 or 1 to 50 or 1 to 500. The leadership role has trials and tribulations. There's responsibility, and not every day is a banner day. And what makes a great leader is how you navigate it. What brings you happiness has to do with what you bring home to yourself. Mm-hmm. What comes back to that inner core of, wow, even as a printer, the clients I worked with, I made their days better because I had their deliverables ran easier. It made their days better. They felt prouder to their bosses. It doesn't matter what industry we're looking at, but it comes back to if your purpose is tied to the business itself, to a number, your purpose is tied to your inner core, your inner self. And that's, one of the things I love about specifically your company and the way how you're working with truly life coaches. Mm-hmm. So you have niched down. There's a lot of coach certification companies and a lot of great ones out there. I'm not playing favorites by any means. Mm-hmm. And a lot of not so great ones. Whoever's listening on that end, do your research. Do your research. Interview people who've gone through different companies. Ask them the pros and cons. There's pros and cons to everything. Mm-hmm. And what I love about how you've niched down is you're truly working with life coaches and on a specific and a modality that really makes a long-term impact.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and actually, what's really interesting is many of our coaches have their own their own gifts that they are specialized in. So we have musicians that actually coach performance. We have lawyers that coach bar exam tests with the
Mm,
mindset. We have a stylist that coaches on the mind. So the cool thing about our program is, again, no cookie cutter. It's an individual experience. You learn the basics of the system, and then you create your own individual system tailored to your gifts and your needs and your personal passions. And so that is really very unique. You're not just like cookie cutter, and everyone in our group that's graduated, they're not competing with each other because they're all so unique and different. And that's really the beauty of it. And any industry needs a little
okay.
personal work inside. And so it's really brilliant what we do. And again, yes, it's not for everyone either. Our work is really deep. Some people just want to do vision boards and positive affirmations and motivation, and that's great. That's better than nothing. And if that's that's the kind of coaching you want to do, that's great. But it's just finding the right program for you, and what resonates with you is really the key. And don't worry about cost, because if you can be successful, it'll always pay back. But it's just like coaching too, a business coach. You have to find someone that resonates with you, and who cares if they're the number one coach and everyone's going to them now. They might not be for you. And so maybe someone else who's not as famous is probably maybe a better fit for you and would be a better coach for you. And so I early on, I used to throw a lot of money on the big name coaches, thinking, well, if I spend more money, then I'm going to have a better experience. And sometimes that wasn't true.
So what is if you were going to leave us with one piece of advice that you might look to leave leaders today, business leaders today, what would that be? Because you've had amazing insight and nuggets. So I had to ask.
Okay. Well, the mantra that we say in the company is everything you see, you perceive in your business is a reflection of your mind. And a lot of people go, wait, that distant person that's annoying and that real weird situation that's happening out there, but you're sensing it through your five senses, and your mind is interpreting what that experience is out there. So you have to understand that nothing acts independent of your mind, that the way you perceive it, the way you respond to it. And most of the time you're responding to it based on the past, some conditioning or some perception that you've been taught early on of how to see the world is reflected in the business. And so if you can see that reflection and not blame or, run away from things, face them head on and say, my mind is showing me something, that will give you power. And for that's my advice, is that you have to understand, what am I looking at? Why are these great things showing up? Why are these certain people showing up? Why is the business doing certain things? How am I responding to it? And really understand yourself, and because that business is an extension of you. And it's not a separate random thing that's happening anywhere. It's all sourced within your mind.
So, Debra, how could our listeners learn more, know more, follow you? Where do they go?
They can go to our website, creativemindmethod.com. They could also follow us on Facebook. We have a page, Creative Mind Method. If they're interested in becoming a coach, we always have Facebook groups. We have these ongoing 3-week pop-up groups that we do, where we take people through a mini training so they can experience what their purpose is. And if they like it, and everyone will learn something, and then we hope that they like it enough to want to be a coach and be trained with us. So they can just go to our Facebook group, and there's always a link there for the latest group for them.
And listeners, have no fear. Everything will be in the show notes. You can get all the links to stay in touch with Debra and know more about Creative Mind Method. Debra, thank you for joining me here today.
It was so great, Ivy. Thank you for having me.
And listeners, remember to subscribe. We come into your inbox every Monday morning, bright and early. as well as leave notes. What do you want to know? What do you want to hear? That's how we create great content for you and great guests. Thanks for joining us here today at Her Success Story.
To shine.